Welcome to the Cultured Life. It's been a while. I've been out in the garden preparing my square foot garden and planting seedlings that I've grown in our basement over the winter months. Everything's going well. Everything's looking good. Everything's growing. It's gardening time, for sure, for many people. Of course, for the dedicated gardener, it doesn't matter. Spring, summer, fall, winter, we're always doing something for the garden. In the winter, you can plant things in your basement, in a windowsill, and plant those seeds and get them started. Get them started about late January, early February, so that the plants will be of a good size to transfer out into the garden. Come spring, come your last frost, check out Google, find out when the last frost in your area is, and then you can start planting outside. A lot of people who start gardening, they go to the Menards, even Walmart, maybe to their local Lowe's or Home Depot, and they see all these displays of seeds, and they buy their seeds from these displays. Don't give it much thought. Might check the back of the package to find out if the seeds will grow in your zone. But really, you just go to the store, see the seeds, buy the seeds, or you might go to your nursery for specialty seeds, etc. Might buy some landscaping plants. Well, today, on The Cultured Life, we'd like to get a little bit more serious about gardening and our environment. You see, an azalea plant is a foreign plant. It's an invasive plant. And the wildlife and your soil and your area is losing native plants. We're paving over paradise and putting up the parking lot. So our wildlife that is in our area, and when I say our area, I'm talking about your area as well, because this paving over paradise and putting up a parking lot is happening everywhere. It's happening in my town. It's happening in your town. It's happening in my city. It's happening in your city. So when I'm talking about my area, I'm talking about your area too. So, when we start planting shrubs, bushes, hedges, trees, flowers, we want to, and we may not want to because we don't know that we should want to, but we need to plant native plants. And again, the reason this is important is because the habitat for your local wildlife is being destroyed. We're losing our local, natural, native wildlife as we destroy their habitat. In other words, destroy where they live. There's birds, game birds, water birds, that live in marshes. And if we drain the marsh and build condominiums on it, then where are the water birds, the fowl birds, going to live? So if you can put I bought a pond liner that I'm going to dig a hole, put this plastic pond liner out. It's specially made to line a pond, and I'm going to put water in it. It'll attract frogs and toads and snakes and lizards, and all these animals that I just mentioned. You may think, ooh, I don't want them in my house. I don't want them in my yard. Well, they eat the mice and the rodents that might try to live in your property, on your property. So everything has a role to play in nature. So, of course, we don't want, if we live in some place like Texas, we don't want to encourage rattlesnakes in our yard, maybe. But then again, maybe we just need to learn to live with these animals instead of going out and killing them all. Because in nature, the rattlesnake must have a part to play in nature. Otherwise, it wouldn't be there. It wouldn't survive if it didn't have a place in nature. So let's look at it that way. Let's start loving nature again. And I want to say something about, before we get more into native plants, heirloom plants, natural plants, is that scientific research has shown that the psychopath, the serial killer, the mass murderer, and the murderer, at a young age, these people abused animals. Pulling the wings off of butterflies, pulling the wings off of other insects, cutting up small rabbits, squirrels, in other words, killing animals, torturing their dog, killing their dog, going out into the woods, finding animals and insects and killing them, just to kill them, not for food, just to kill them. So a person's love of nature affects how they view their humanity. A person who loves nature loves human beings, loves their fellow human beings. Why? Because we human beings are part of nature. And if you can love the skunk, if you can love the hawk, if you can love the crow, if you can love the cardinal, if you can love the oriole, the oreo, all kinds of songbirds, the owl, the fox, the wolf, the coyote, if you can love the buffalo, if you can love nature, and if you teach your children to love the plants, to love the animals, you're going to have a loving child. It is a positive part of our human values. So how do we honor our love of nature? How do we be a better lover of nature, a better nature lover? One way is to find the native plants that grow in your area. Now, you can plant the azalea bush, which is a foreign plant, but there's a native plant that looks just as great, just as beautiful, has just as beautiful flowers on it that grows in your area. I know we have a native plant that looks just as beautiful as the azalea. It's 8 o'clock. But it is a native plant. It's not a foreign plant. And many people are even planting bamboo in their yard. And certain kinds of bamboo will just grow like crazy. I mean, it will take over your whole yard. So if you are going to plant some bamboo, check to make sure it's not the high growth invasive kind. So the best bet is to grow native plants, native bushes, native shrubs, native hedges, native fruit trees. We need to start getting back to the native nature. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about heirloom seeds and why they're so important. There's many native heirloom seeds. You'll find if you look on the internet, we have this great big resource of data. And you're going to find on the internet heirloom seeds that grow in your area. And the great thing about heirloom seeds is the fact you have heirloom seeds that you've bought on the internet or at the big box stores. They're going to be not invasive. They're going to be better than your invasive, non-native plants. The great thing about heirloom seeds is that when you save the seeds, in other words, you grow an heirloom tomato and you have planted this type of red heirloom tomato and you love it. You love the taste. It's just a great tomato for eating. And then you grow another heirloom tomato and you love it because it's great for canning. And when you eat it, after it's been canned, it tastes delicious. Well, let's say your red eating tomato that you just love to pick off the vine, wash it off, and eat it. It's a great eating tomato for hamburgers, all kinds of sandwiches, in your salad. You have, let's say, 30 tomatoes on your tomato vine. Take a couple of those tomatoes and, well, since they're tomatoes, you could just scoop out the seeds, put them on a paper towel, and let them dry out. And you can save those seeds and replant them next year. And in about 5 years worth of growing this tomato, this heirloom tomato, saving the seeds each year and planting them the next year, after about 5 years, that seed has data stored in it, in its genes. It has genetic data. And what is this genetic data? It is of the growing conditions of your local area. Wow. When you plant on the 6th year, when you plant that seed knows what it needs to get through the varied weather in your area. And remember, if that tomato plant has been growing well, maybe even abundantly well in your area, each year that you save some of the seeds and replant them, your bounty is going to even get more abundant because the plant learned. We're going to use the word learn, but it stores data from how the weather is. Just like a tree ring, the thicker the tree ring, the more moisture and the better the conditions were. If you cut a tree down and you look at the tree rings, the thin rings are where there might have been a drought or not enough rain or not enough snow or not enough sunshine. Well, your seed has that same data, genetic data in it. After 5 years, you probably went through all the conditions that your area has. And guess what else? Guess what other kind of genetic data is in that seed? Well, every gardener waters different, plants different, cultivates different, hoes the weeds different. That seed that you've replanted, saved and replanted for 5 years, that 6th year, when you put that seed in the ground, not only does it have data of your growing seasons, it has the data of your gardening techniques stored in that seed. It has collected data about how you water. If you water your tomato plants twice a week when it's a normal rain, that seed knows that. That seed is counting on you watering it every couple of weeks, even if you get a nice rain, because that memory of how you water is stored in that seed. It's not really a knowing as it is a genetic code of memory. It's like when you write something to your computer and save it, the computer doesn't really understand what you've saved, but the information is there that can be used by the program that you run to perform. And that's what happens to the seed. It stores the data as a memory that it can reach into and access when it's running its program of growth. It's kind of doing it. Perhaps you don't have to subscribe to its intelligence, but it is the seed is a potential program. It's a software for the plant. It stores the data so that when you plant that seed the 6th year, it has all the data from the last 5 years growing in your area, in your yard, the way that you garden. It's amazing. It is so cool. That's why heirloom seeds and native plants are so awesome. Because native plants, many of them have been going for thousands and thousands of years in your area. And they have all this genetic data in the memory of those plants about how to survive in your area. You see, when you go to the seed company, when you go to the big box store and buy these seeds that have been grown elsewhere, the genetic memory in that seed is from the place where it was grown, not in your local area, not in your garden. If you're going to buy seeds from somebody, buy seeds from a farmer or a gardener in your area. You know. Now, you can look at the back of the seed package, and you can go online and find the hardiness zones for your plants. And you look at the back of your seed packet, and there's all kinds of colored areas there. And of course, it says this plant can be grown in zone such and such to zone such and such. Here in southern Indiana, in Gibson County, where I live, we live in zone 6B. However, that's just mainly talking about rainfall. But what else does a plant encounter? Wind, sunshine, humidity, the acidity of the soil, the companion plant that you've planted beside it. There's more than just this hardiness zone measurement that will either harm or benefit growing in your area. Now, most of the time, if it says a plant will grow in zone 6B, where I live, it will grow. And you'll get a good produce out of it. But we're talking about taking it to another level, giving it a little bit more love, and not only planting for ourselves, but planting for the local wildlife as well. Planting bushes and shrubs and hedges and trees that the local wildlife can benefit from as well. And again, why is this a concern that we should have? Because we are paving over paradise and putting up a parking lot. And every time we pave over paradise and put up a parking lot, wildlife loses its home, loses its habitat. Many of this wildlife need time to adjust to changes in their environment. And if one day there's a place to live, a field or woods, and then you come in with bulldozers, you down the trees, you bulldoze down the meadow, then these animals have no place to go. And they are vital to our survival. And again, psychopaths, mass murderers, serial killers, one thing most of them have in common is that when they were young, when these mass murderers, killers, and serial killers were young, they abused animals and plants and nature. And if you teach your child to love and honor and respect animals, you are going to teach your child tremendous love, and they will grow up to be respectful human beings that respects other human beings and other living things. It's just something that we must encourage. And, when your child knows that this hamburger doesn't come from a fast food restaurant, it comes from a cow. And if we teach our children that this cow gave its life, this cow was killed to provide us with this hamburger. Oh, maybe we shouldn't teach our children that. Well, it's a fact of life. It's a fact of life. So we've taken this cow's life. So we should respect and honor the cow. I'm not talking about worshiping cows. I'm not talking about worshiping trees. I'm not talking about worshiping nature. I'm talking about respect. I can respect you. You can respect me. But we don't have to worship each other. And we can respect and honor nature. We can teach our children to pause a moment before they bite into their hamburger and say, another living being died so that I might have food. And that is the way at the current moment of life. This is the way we live. We have to eat to live. And some animals eat other animals. Now, I know you can hear the vegans going on about you shouldn't eat meat, you shouldn't kill other animals. But look out in nature. There's animals that eat animals, and, that is life. We're not violating anything by eating meat. We're just not violating anything by eating meat. Cut down on meat if you want. Cut meat out altogether. But you got to be careful of your nutrition. And we get a lot of nutrition from meat. It's readily available in the meat. You look at a cow eats all day long. A cow eats all day long. Most of wildlife most of their time is spent eating. Birds that eat seeds. So we can sit down and have a meal of meat and go about our day doing other things. And of course, most of that reason is that we don't have to hunt our meat, don't have to hunt our food. So if you want to go vegan, that's, your choice. You might want to look into it. What I'm saying is that if we use native plants and heirloom seeds, we can improve our lives. There's certain kind of flowers that you can plant that will attract hummingbirds. There's certain heirloom and wild, what they used to call weeds. There's certain wildflowers that attract bees, all kinds of bees. Some bees are attracted to some flowers, and some bees are attracted to other flowers. Most bees will go to almost every flower, but like anything else, certain bees have a preference for certain kinds of flowers, certain colors. Bees see in the infrared, so, they are attracted to certain colored flowers. The aroma also adds to it. So you can look up online. There's, like I say, a whole database, a world full of database online, where you can plant a hummingbird flower bed. You can plant beside it a butterfly flower bed. You can plant maybe on the edge of your property in the very back, a bee flower bed that attracts the bees. We let our dandelions grow in a certain part of our acreage. We have 3/4 of an acre, and we let the dandelions grow up because the bees are attracted to the dandelions. And of course, there's you can make dandelion tea and all that. This isn't about that at this time. So this is called a weed. The dandelion is called a weed, but actually, in nature, it's not a weed. It's a source of food for many insects. And there's a lot of, I have one weed that grows. It grows on the ground, and it just covers an area. And we let it grow in one part of our property because the bumblebees and the insects love the purple flowers on this. It's kind of like a vine, but it grows mostly on the ground. It will grow up over something, but then it grows up over it and then heads back down to the ground. There's other so-called weeds that we allow to grow in one portion of our yard to provide habitat. And it attracts pollinators to our yard, which then they also visit our garden and our crabapple tree and our apple tree. So they get pollinated. The berry bushes that we plant, they are providing us with berries, and we leave enough that the overwintering birds that stay in our area over the winter have a source of food. And we cut down on having to buy bird seed to feed the songbirds that stay the winter in our area, because they're eating the berries off the bushes and the shrubs and the hedges and the trees that we've planted. We leave a certain portion of our crabapple tree. We leave the crabapples on the tree. The robin loves the crabapple in the wintertime. The squirrel loves the crabapple. Crab apples in the wintertime. We have about 6 walnut trees. Of course, the squirrel buries the walnuts and eats them all winter long. Our apple tree, when we go to harvest the apples, we leave about, I'd say, 1/3 to 1/4 of our apples on the tree. And of course, the squirrel loves the apples. The certain birds love apples. They'll be pecking on them. So there's all kinds of plants that you can plant, native plants and heirloom plants that you can put on your property as landscape and in your garden that will help the wildlife. We grow an area of about 100 sunflower heads. The sunflowers grow up. We cut the heads off at the harvest time. We store the heads in our basement. We put them out in the wintertime, and the birds love it. And we went to the store and we bought some bird seed, thistle seed, and some other kinds of seed. Saved some of the bird seed. We didn't put it out for the winter. This was a mild winter, so we didn't put out as much. We had about, I'd say, a couple cups of seed of everything. So we took the seed and we planted it out in the garden to grow the thistle. And when the thistle grows, we'll harvest the thistle seeds. You can grow a cover crop in for the winter, ryegrass. Winter ryegrass. In the early spring, the ryegrass had seed heads. You go out, you harvest some of the seed heads, so you can replant the next year, next winter, and you leave a lot of the seed out there for the birds and for the other wildlife that comes, the insects, the other wildlife that comes along and eats the rye. We need to work with nature. And remember, as I said, developing in ourselves and our children the love of nature, developing our children and ourselves to become lovers of nature, increases our ability and our capacity to feel compassion and empathy and love for our fellow human being, and to give our fellow human beings honor and the respect that they rightly deserve. Being close to nature is vital, and it helps develop our decent human values, and helping our fellow creatures by planting native plants and heirloom seeds is another vital experience that increases the native habitat for our native wildlife. Till next time, have a great cultured life.
Right. Begging for mercy till I asked her why. I got on my nerve and I need to say, I'm not looking for a peace of mind. You're not looking to ask me why. Begging for mercy till I asked her why. She said, why? Begging for mercy till I asked her why.